Well, we are standing here on this Piper Creek site where we've got a lot of things happening. Today we've got some goats on the site. We're doing some weed control for us. Before the city was here, it was actually this section of land was agricultural land, which was pretty typical to cropland up top. And then through the creek and riparian area, through the floodplain, cattle roamed through here. And so they were grazing this land to a point where it was actually quite a degraded landscape. There was erosion. Some of the impacts of that were lots of invasive species. When the city took over ownership of these lands and waste management operations moved in, we actually saw this land as an opportunity to do some things that would be very beneficial to the public and helpful to the landscape. And so what we did is we used to have a big 9-acre garden site up in what is now Garden Heights, and that was our community, our city garden plot program. And so that was 9 acres. That neighborhood was moving in. So in the planning stages and the development stages of the city, we knew we had to move those gardens. And so we thought, where are we going to do that? We saw this parcel as a potential site to move those gardens to. And so we brought the garden plots down here, established an area. There was a few stages of that and just flaring that out into what is now Piper Creek Gardens. Great garden site. The public loved it out here. As the gardens were established and as we started to look more closely at the landscape, because cattle were no longer allowed out here, the farmer was still leasing some land and doing some crop stuff up top. But we saw the invasive species that had taken over and sort of the degraded landscape down here, and we thought, hey, we need to put some effort into restoring this. And so one of the tools for that is actually these guys. And we decided, you can't be in the creek, and we've got steep slopes, so there's safety concerns. You put someone with a weed whipper on this slope, you can't put a tractor or a staff safely on this landscape. And so we thought, hey, what other tools do we have to manage weeds? And it was Canada thistle, it was yellow toad flax, some of those noxious weeds that we actually do within the city have to control. And so goats were a great tool for that. And so we started a 3-year pilot project on the site and saw some great results from that and some great benefits ecologically. And so then we moved into this full-fledged program where we've got Jeanette and Dan who come out and they've got somewhere in the range of 800 goats here today. They come out here several times a season and they're knocking down some of the grasses and noxious weeds that have taken over the site and have seen some wonderful results. And the ecology is coming back through this area. So goats has been a really effective tool.
My name is Ray Mikulak. I'm the project lead with the Piper Creek Restoration Agriculture Project. We're on the site right now, a very beautiful time of year. Everything's just coming up and growing very quickly. We got some really good rainstorms helping us out. And to my right here is one of the structures that are helping us to take advantage of that rainwater harvesting. It's called the watershed, and it's a play on words to demonstrate how we can use structures to act as the highest points in what we otherwise would call the watershed, which is the greater geographical area we all live and play in. So this structure was formerly a traditional stick frame barn that just was degrading over time and became a liability. So we had the great idea to tear it down and recycle the siding from the barn as well as much of the barn wood as we could, and in its place built what's called a timber frame structure. So it's a sustainable structure in the sense that the timbers are far bigger than the stick frame construction that used to be here. And with the walls open as opposed to closed, it can breathe a lot easier, and therefore the longevity of the structure is in the realm of 100+ years, whereas the previous structure was not quite that long. So we're demonstrating sustainable architecture here and providing an art piece essentially to recognize the history of the site by replacing the old barn, but then also breathing into the space inspiration and ideas for people to take back home, because in the spaces that are empty in the walls, we're intending to fill with pollinator habitat or keystone species habitat. And then that shows people they can make artistic structural components that become landscape features in their own property and are integrated very seamlessly with the natural world. And so that's what we're trying to demonstrate here, is how to do it in a way that doesn't create potential vectors for disease by concentrating too many pollinators in one space, and showing that we can use forestry products in a way that will last the maximum lifespan.
Rethink has been a great partnership with the city. They came along, they came to the site and actually saw the potential here as well to implement some projects and some programs that would further restore the ecology of this area, of the floodplain. And so there's been a lot of effort put into focused plantings along the creek. There's pollinator gardens, and there is a timber frame wood barn structure that catches rainwater. There's a food forest that granting was obtained for, and there's lots happening on site. Workshops, lots of education, and lots of ecological restoration.
Even in spite of all the rain this year and the flooding that's happening in many sections of our watershed, Piper Creek is flowing very smoothly and clean. And so this is a really great demonstration of how to integrate human activity in the landscape and learn about the place we live while having recreation and lifestyle enhancement.
With Rethink, there's lots of other partners that have come on board to help in those ecological restoration efforts. Some of them are Trout Unlimited, who have helped do some electrofishing and in-stream fish habitat restoration efforts. Cows and Fish has come through here, and we've done a series of 3 different riparian health inventories, which basically assesses the health of the landscape 1 year, year 3, and year 5, and over that course you kind of see how the health of the landscape is responding to efforts. We've restored a creek crossing up here with some bioengineering and lots of willow planting and different techniques there. The beaver has come back and established itself on the landscape, which is holding back water and establishing riparian habitat, and loads of birds. Like the ecology is just coming back, which has been great. And it's the collaborative effort of Rethink, the city, and many other stakeholders that have come on site. It's been a great success and a lot of fun along the journey.
The future of the agriculture on this site is in question, given that we're transitioning to a regenerative agriculture philosophy and system, given our challenges with climate change. And so I'm hoping that we can use, again, existing infrastructure to turn it into facilities for interns and even an ecotourism strategy for the city. So when we have projects like this out here and attempts to break the Guinness World Record for largest Keystone Species hotel, that's got some cachet for people visiting the community. So to visit these sites, even have potential accommodations and bring workers and students in for internships is a pretty great opportunity. And in between the pollinator garden and the food forest are raised beds, which increase the opportunity for the annual gardeners here to have off-season growing in the sense of perennial plants, which they can't do in their annual plots because they get tilled over at the end of each season. So with these raised beds, we have the opportunity to plant things like garlic and bulb type flowers that will go dormant in the winter and come up next spring. So we have the opportunity for garlic production now for those gardeners interested in having a year-round presence at the site. So talking with others, coming out, getting your hands dirty, looking at our website or social media, and just writing your own story. Essentially, everybody's got their own adventure to fulfill, and that's what we're trying to provide here: is choose your own adventure opportunity.
I called the City Garden Plot program, and we have 4 sites around the city that are just like 3 other sites, kind of just like this. Although this is the most kind of like rural garden site. And how it works is the public can register or sort of rent one of these plots for the season. And so the city works the soil in the spring, we put it to bed in the fall, but during the whole course of the growing season, the public are in here in their own plot and they're gardening that space. They comply with things that we ask them to do, like there's no chemical, there's no herbicide used on this site, again in line with the ecological restoration of the site and the creek and the floodplain being right here. But things grow really well. I mean, it's a great site, great soil, We add an amendment every now and then, but you see people individually sort of managing their space and owning it. Costs a little bit. It ranges roughly from 20 to 50 bucks depending on the size of the plot that you want to take, but it's we really welcome the public into this programming and into this opportunity to learn how to grow food, how to grow beauty on the landscape, and to like benefit directly from those efforts. So this being the year of the garden, it's great to see so many people involved in gardening. Check out the public space and the public opportunity to get involved in some of these gardening efforts.